Simple progression to go through doors. Give a shout out to Winkley's. It's in Liberty Hill. They have. I walk in there. I don't say, "Do you have this?" I say, "What aisle are the magnets on?" And they said aisle 3, and I walk over to aisle 3, and sure as shit, they have magnets, and you can buy a 10-pack for about $2. And whether they're nice as, you can put these on your refrigerator at the station and put bolt patterns up, and it just brings up conversation. Talk about fire, and you're going to be good at fire, right? Everyone should have a progression to get through doors. Mine is a little lengthy, and it works for me. Just have a progression is all I care about. If you come up to a door and you don't have one, what's going to happen is you're going to fail. You're going to start attacking hinges first, and you're going to have a drop bar in place, or something like that's going to happen, and you're not going to be successful. So when I look at this door right here, I'm going to go conventional first all the time. I go conventional because all these signify drop bars and slide locks and up and down locks. But what happens is this is a nightclub at midnight versus a nightclub at 5 o'clock in the morning. Nightclub at midnight, does it have the drop bar in place? No, probably not, because people are inside. What does it have though? It has panic hardware. Where is panic hardware? Panic hardware is waist high. Me and the gentleman over there is waist high, might be a little different, but now I know properly where I'm going to put in my ads. Ads has a the panic hardware has about a 3/4 inch throw. Nothing for our Halligan, right? Put the ads in, spread it, see what you got. Up to 1 3/4 inch throw on our deadbolts, right? Still nothing for our ads. Go in there, we do our crush, and we get behind it, okay? I get behind it and I see now it's 5 o'clock in the morning, that same nightclub, the drop bar is in place. I can tell that because I can get through the door. I got a nice spread, I can see what's going on. Drop bar is in place. The misconception, and you see a lot of videos on Facebook, you take these bolts and you start beating on them and the bolt drops to the ground, and we do our happy seal clap, and then we go about our business. What we're trying to actually do is soften the structural components that are holding that drop bar up. And then we're going to go leverage game. We're going to take our leverage of the Halligan versus the leverage of this drop bar, and we're going to see who wins. And we'll win every time. We're going to start on the lock side, and the way these are constructed normally is they're constructed crossways, or they have a frame that goes up like an L bracket. All right. So for the most part, I'll go to the bottom first because that's usually our clean area to drive through both the skins in the door. Right? So I'm going to start at the bottom. Remember, your ads has a curve to it, so you have to fight that curve. I like to start on the side of the bolt head, so that way when it goes through the back skin of the door, it's not way over here. It's right in the middle where I want it to be. When I drive that through, I'm going to go ahead and pull it all the way out as far as I can. Maybe not go all the way out. Turn it down to the 6 o'clock. Pull it all the way out. Turn it to the 9 o'clock. Pull it all the way out. Turn it to the 12 o'clock. Pull it all the way out. What I'm doing is I'm wallowing out that hole, and I'm letting the back side of the drop bar sag. And that sag,
What do you guys
now I give there a chance to win with the Halligan when I get back to this and capture my product. This is a door we had off of Lamar in Austin, right? It's obviously a pitched out door. It was a camera, a precision camera, right? So expensive product inside. Steel construction door. And the drop bar bolts. Are pretty sturdy. We went ahead. Obviously, this is the lock side. We attacked this first. We got a pretty good pull out of it, but it wasn't until we softened the other side also that we were able to get enough sag in that drop bar hanger to be able to pop the door. Yeah, you can say you would just grab the irons, but we all have engine companies that don't, the cutoff saw. We all have companies that don't carry a cutoff saw. You should be able to be successful for the most part with a set of irons on any commercial tool with some practice. So we've dropped our drop bar. We hear the drop bar hit the ground. We won, right? We took out the locks here. We took out the deadbolts. We got the drop bar out of place. What do we have here? What is indicative of? Slide locks. Some people are saying chain lock, but that's more residential. You'll see more of a slide locks. And they're usually in a 1 bolt pattern or a 2 bolt pattern like this. Again, that's enough to lock. I'm not even going to waste. I'm not going to be too terribly worried about that. Again, it's probably going to go when we take our deadbolt right here. As we're moving up the door, because we're still working on this side of the door, so we have control of this door. We see these, right? They're not always a 4-bolt pattern. Sometimes they're 2 bolts or 1 bolt, but they're indicative of locks that go up and down. Obviously, this is a double hung door, right? I always take the top first because the bottom slides against the ground, especially if it's a well-used door, and it grinds. And over time, you're going to have the bottom of that door, the lock mechanism grind down some, right? So I'll take my adze, put it in here, gap it, pop it out. I like to try and stick a wedge back there. It can be a wood wedge or a metal wedge, so the door doesn't get hung up when we start pulling it back off and we start doing the bottom. Do the same thing on the bottom, and you're good to go. Now we forced everything on this side, and we still can't get the door. I'm telling you that door is used all the time. So if I have 10 doors in the back of a commercial structure, that's the one I'm forcing for. That's a normal ingress-egress point for the business. It's probably where they clock in, they clock out, whatever else. All right, so just a thought there. We're all creatures of habit, and people at work are no different. That's where they're going if something bad happens inside. So we've taken care of this whole side of the door, and we're still kind of perplexed, right? Come over here, and I'm saying, screw it, I'm taking the door off the hinges, right? Easy money. What's the weakest part of the hinge? What? Screws? Screws. You already over there.
Hey, it's the screws.
Screws the thing.
You did. There's only like a couple people that got right. We bash it in, right? Because we're trying to sever those screws, or we're trying to weaken those screws. Then we put the halogen on, we pop it off. I like to leave the middle hinge for last because it keeps the door more in line. Is it imperative? No. Just blow the door out if you have to. Well, Targets, Walmarts, all these places, they don't like you taking their hinges off. So they've come up with these hinge pins. Has anybody seen a hinge pin? Right? Hinge pins come in a 1-bolt pattern or a 3-bolt pattern. Sometimes they have a silver plate on them also. What these hinge pins are is there's a nipple that protrudes out the door, and then they drill a hole in the frame of the door, right? So when this door closes, the nipple drops into that hole. So now you've taken all these hinges, but this door's still not going to go. All right. So that's the point where we would hence do what we did today, the doggy door, and we're going to cut straight across the bottom third of the door, and then we'll see what the hell they got going on inside. The reason we cut the bottom third is most of our locks are going to be above that. People are inherently lazy, so going like this to lock a door is just way too much for people to be expected to do. So they put them a little higher. The only caveat to that, and this is stretching, is if you see a peephole, it's down here. A lot of our Section 8 apartments, the first floor, a lot of our assisted people living in wheelchairs, they live in those apartments on the first floor, and you'll see peepholes on the first floor. Those doors are easy doors, but just the sizing thing to look for, right? Just like when we come up and we're sizing up a structure, and we're going to a structure fire, and I see a wheelchair ramp at the front of the house. That's the door I'm going. That's the only door that person inside can get out. That's the door I'm going. I'll figure out how to fight that fire from that spot, but that's where I'm going to, because I want to get my search going and pull that person out. All right, so we've done our doggy door. I look in there, see what's going on, and try and unscrew it. The reason I have such a deep progression is we had a fire in Austin. It was burn baby burn fire where all the cops were really upset about going to this nightclub over and over again. So they were typing back and forth on their MDCs, burn baby burn and let it burn. And they got in a lot of trouble for it because one of the residents was out front and took a picture of the MDC and blasted it on the news and everything else. But in that structure, we're not always going to see bolt patterns for drop bars. Sometimes they're just on the inside, homemade job from a guy. They had welded bolt heads to the back of the door, and then they screwed eyelet bolts into the bolt heads, and then they put chains. They hung chains on the door. They ran such chains back
3 feet to a pole. The pole, they chained the chains to the pole. The pole was 2.5 feet into the ground. Now, there was other doors at that job, so they didn't have to force that one. They saw it after the fact and took a bunch of pictures because it's not something we see every day, right? But the point is to expect unexpected with forcible entry and be on your game, be ready to go. And if you have a progression, you will succeed. If you don't, you're going to fail every time. Is there anything?